Hello, Mavericks. How's it going? This is Rob Reinhold, and it's time for you to put your feet up and let's get inside those brains of yours. Really quickly, I've been trading since 1997. I dabbled a little bit around before that, but 1997 is when I really decided, hey, I'm going to do this full time. And there wasn't a lot of help back then in 1997. The internet was brand new. You couldn't get it at your house. I had to drive 30 minutes down to the Maverick Trading office. And that's just what you had to do every single time. And there were like 3 books on trading, and everyone was just trying to figure it out. Luckily, I was around some guys that had some prior experience in the pits of Chicago. They helped me out. But this is just throughout all the years, all the help that's become available. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. And we're going to start really at the beginning of trading and really talk about why most people fail. And it's this one right here, programming. We're all programmed a certain way. So let's just jump into this. And speaking of programming, I'm going to program you right here. I'm going to show you a picture. And what you're going to see is going to jump out right in this oval circle here. You're going to see an old lady in a fur coat who is smoking a cigarette. All right. So the question is that what your brain saw? Okay. If not, maybe it took you a while, but you say, okay, now I see it. Now I see the old lady smoking a cigarette. I'm going to show you a different picture. And in this picture, you're going to see a young lady with a hat, and she's going to be looking away. All right, I lied to you. It's not a different picture. It is the same picture. But you were pre-programmed to see something and not the other. And based on how you are built, and I've actually just did this with Ankit, and I showed him the picture. Like, I saw the old lady first. Like, when I looked at this picture, it was difficult for me to see the young lady looking away. I saw the old lady crystal clear right at first. Ankit, on the other hand, he saw the young lady, and he had a hard time seeing the old lady until I pointed it out. And then he's like, oh, I see it now. How in the world did 2 human beings witness the same thing and have completely different perception of it? Programming. And I've always said, for any of you who have been married or in a relationship, isn't it amazing that 2 people can see and witness the same thing and have 2 completely different results of whose fault it is? Yeah. If you haven't had that pleasure yet, you're probably too young to know you don't want to have that. It's no fun. But basically, what's happening is, I pre-programmed your brain to see the thing I wanted it to see. And this is how hypnosis works. This is how magicians work in illusions. This is how, if you want to go down a deep rabbit hole, there's a gentleman named Darren Brown who's a hypnotist over in the UK, and he gets people to do whatever he wants them to do based on suggestions and word patterns. Basically, here's the question. Is there free will? Now, this is going to be a controversial topic, and I'll share with you a little bit of my journey through this. I am a big believer in personal choice, and choices have consequences, and that's the world. That is the world we live in. Here's the problem. Free will. Why we choose what we choose. Why do we make the decisions we make? Are we really consciously making decisions? And there's been many, many studies, and the very first one was from Benjamin Libet in the early 1980s. And his premise was we don't have free will. What he did is he hooked up the MRI machines to people and measured their brain activity. And so he could see when they had a thought, he was measuring the prefrontal cortex and how long it took to basically spool the brain up in order to make a decision based on what button they should press. Here's what they found. People were making the decision before the brain reached the capacity to make a decision. How is that possible? How is it possible? We do this all the time. We get hit on the knee with one of those little hammers that the doctor has, and our knee reflexes. Something comes in our field of vision that looks like it's going to hit in our face. We flinch. Those aren't conscious thoughts. So where is that action coming from? And a lot of you say, well, that's reaction. Well, that reaction is built off of programming. Programming. The decisions are being made because we write programs. And this is the way the human brain works. The human brain has a thought. It then has a feeling. And we're going to get into this. This is a well-documented pattern that human beings do all the time. And it's called TFA. Thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings create chemicals in your body. And those chemicals will invoke a physical response. And then you're going to have the consequence. And that consequence is written as a program. So let's just take that last example I had. You're a young kid. You're like 4 or 5 years old. You don't understand when things hit your head, it hurts. But one day you were walking past a baseball team, and one of the baseball players throws the ball too high, and you see that ball come and hit you in the head. And that causes trauma, that causes pain, that causes blood, causes all these negative things. That child has now written a program in their mind that they want to avoid that. That program is now in their mind. So like when they walk past a baseball field, now they're extra vigilant. Or someone gets bitten by a dog, they don't like dogs anymore. What happens is we write these programs all the time, and throughout our entire life, we are writing these programs. Now, the first thing we have our traders do is start out with the personality test. Your personality test is your blueprint of who you are. And I can already tell people, it's one thing I've studied just so much over the past decade is personalities. And if you tell me what your personality style is, I'll already kind of tell you what your job is, what your profession is, what your problems are as a trader. I already know that because there's certain personality traits. Like me, I'm an extrovert. Extroverts overtrade. Extroverts overtrade, period. If you're an extrovert, you likely overtrade or have in the past. So that is your personality, and there's nothing you can do with your personality. But what happens is, and this is called epigenetics, is all of your experiences are written in your mind, in your genetic code. And so every time something happens, it either reinforces something or it does the opposite. It actually erodes that belief system until it finally changes. So this is the CBT model of human emotions: thoughts, feelings, actions. And those actions reinforce those thoughts, which create more feelings, which create more action. This is a gentleman named T. Harvecker. I read him 25 years ago. And he basically said, yes, this is all true, but programming is first. What you're programmed to believe is what you will believe. It's what you'll actually believe until you change that programming. So here's the problem when we take programming into trading. We're wired to lose. Period. End of sentence. Now look, people are going to lose for different reasons based on their personality styles, but we're all going to lose if we don't redo the programming. Well, the first reason why is brain chemistry. Lots and lots of studies have been done that show that people make worse decisions when the risk of loss is present. They actually had a bunch of people playing blackjack, and they were just playing for fake money. There was no risk involved. And they found out that they pretty much played it was like 48.5%, which is about as good as you can do against the house in blackjack. 48, 45, and 48.5% win rate. Once they put money on the line, once the people had something to lose, the rates dropped down to the low 40s. Now, the game of blackjack didn't change. Didn't change at all. The only thing that changed was money was on the line. And they actually hooked people up to MRI machines and they measured their prefrontal cortex. When there was no money on the line, they used entirely their prefrontal cortex to make decisions. When money was on the line, they used very little of their prefrontal cortex and started to use their insula and other things, which is where the fight or flight, I don't want to call it a syndrome, the reality is built into. So this fight or flight, this is how we're built. And we went through lots and lots of years where our lives were in danger and our body's job, all of our senses were there to make sure we didn't die. And so everything is built for this survival mode. So whenever you're put in times of stress, really your body is facing a whether I should stay or go, whether I should fight or flee. That's just how we're wired. When we take that into the markets, that's a very difficult time because those are where the brain chemistry is going to send out actual chemicals into your body that are going to actually make you feel like running away or staying to fight. Another study shows that people who are willing to delay short-term gratification for long-term gratification typically get more of what they want. This is a study I told my kids early on in their life to try to develop this in them. There was a study where they took kindergartners and they each gave the kindergartners a piece of candy. And they said, if you wait until the end of this story and you don't eat your candy, you get an extra one. But you can eat the candy whenever you want. If you want to eat the candy now, eat it. But if you don't eat it, you get more candy at the end. They actually found that the children who were able to wait, they actually ended up having much better outcomes in school. We're better students. We're better everything. This is just how we're built. We are built to want short-term results, period. The here and now, the present, is what we care about. We want it here and now. So these are all the reasons we are wired to lose. And there's many other reasons, but these are just some of the basic ones. So before we get into programming, how to program, I want to bring up this movie. I saw this movie a few years ago, and I made my daughter watch it. I'm like, you have to watch this. I've made everyone watch this movie. It's with Amy Schumer, and the story is that she has a life where she doesn't like her life. She doesn't like how she looks. She doesn't like what she weighs. She's not happy in her career. She isn't getting promoted. Other people are getting promoted before her, which only reinforces her feelings of low self-worth. And so she's going to this spinning class to try to improve her life. She falls off the spin bike, hits her head. And when she wakes up, she looks in the mirror and she sees a knockout 10 perfect, what her mind of was a perfect woman looked like. And she can't believe it. She can't believe what has happened to her, that this is how she looks now. So the next day she walks into work and she has swagger. She is feeling it. She's like, look at me. Now look, she doesn't look any different to other people. And everyone's like, that's odd. But what happens is she keeps doing this. And people are like, why are you acting like this? Like, what are you talking about? I'm amazing. Why wouldn't I act like this? Eventually, she got a promotion. She ended up getting a boyfriend that she wanted. She ended up getting all the things she wanted. And the only thing that changed was her perception. Look, I just told you the whole story, so you don't need to go out and watch it now unless you want to. But it's just a beautiful story about programming, of what we tell ourselves. So let's start off with pretty much how everyone starts off in this world when they get into the world of trading specifically. I know when I got into trading and I said, this is what I want, I knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. I've been ambitious. I've always wanted to make a lot of money. And I didn't want to lose the money I had. You know, I'd worked hard for that. I didn't want to lose that. I also wanted to be a success. My dad told me this was dumb to do. My friends told me this was dumb to do. They all told me I was crazy, and I wanted to prove them wrong. And if I failed at it, wow, would I feel bad? So that was a big motivation to me, was like to not fail. Also, when I started trading, I had my wife was pregnant, and I went home after work and I said, hey, I'm going to be a trader for a living. And she supported me. She's like, okay, that's fine. The whole point was to have a better life. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to be able to be with my kids and go to their schools and donate my time there. That's what I wanted. And I didn't want to be in the hole. I didn't want to have that worry and stress all the time. And then my financial future, like I said, I saw the whole world ahead of me like, hey, this is why I'm doing this trading, is because this is what I want. I want to have freedom. I want to be able to leave when I want. I want to be able to work when I want. I want to be able to work wherever I want. And I didn't want to be poor. Life is hard without money. At a certain point, money doesn't matter anymore. But until that point, money matters immensely. So let's think about this programming. And this is me. This was me in the beginning. When I got into the market, this was what I was telling myself. These are my goals. This is what I was trying to accomplish. Everything in here. This set me up for failure. This absolutely set me up for failure. And until I learned how to reprogram this, I kept making certain mistakes. So let's just take that trader, whether that's me, whether that's you, whether it's anyone, and let's throw that person into the market. That person that's read a few books, throw them into the market, and that's their goal. I don't want to look dumb. I want to succeed. I want to make a lot of money, and I don't want to be poor. All right, they get into a trade. Their programming is, if this trade loses money, I'm a failure. So when the trade goes against them, they're a failure. If the trade goes for them and they sell it now, they're a success. They have these thoughts of, oh my gosh, what do I do here? Well, let's say this trade ends up going against them. And you have the thought from the last trade you made, the last time you held the position, it ended up getting worse. So you say to yourself, okay, I've got that program now running. I'm not going to do that. Then you get these feelings. Okay, I need to make a decision now. I need to make it right now, or I'm going to have a bigger loss. You've got this binary question of what you're going to do. So you take action. You either fight or you flight. And this person says, I need an end to this stress. I need to get out. It's too much. And then as a result, the trade would have been profitable. The trader exited too early. And this is going to create a feedback loop. And we talked about your first bit of programming is going to lead to your thoughts. It's going to lead to your feelings. Those feelings, and again, there's a video we have about brain chemistry. We talk about all of the brain chemistry that happens in trading. I highly recommend watching it. We talk about all the hormones that are going through your body that basically are going to force you to make certain decisions. You take the action, and then you basically rewrite the program. Well, the last time I sold it, it would have been profitable. So next time, don't sell it. So all of a sudden, you're setting yourself up on the next trade to not sell it if it goes against you because you just reprogrammed it. And then it goes against you. And you say, well, last time I sold it and it was bad. So this time I'm not going to sell it. So you cancel all your orders, you move your stop orders, and you end up taking a bigger loss. And it just is a negative feedback loop. This is the reality of how we're built. This is what happens. Until you understand that the decisions you make are not conscious decisions. They're programs that have been written in your mind based on your personality and your past experiences. Until you understand that, you are doomed to repeat it. You are a robot. You are a robot. Now, whenever I talk about the illusion of free will, it's something that I fought for a long time. Like I told you, my whole upbringing was, hey, you work hard, you get the results, and if you didn't work hard, then you deserve what you get. That was just how my mind was programmed. It's definitely not that clear and easy. You're going to need to change your programming. And this is what's called behavior change. And we have another video called Behavior Change, and we go through this process. This is one of the hardest processes a human being can do. And I always use something like addiction, like people going through AA or a drug addiction recovery. There's so many things that are layered into this, people in pain, people with bad upbringings, people with mental disease. I mean, there's so many layers to this. And to actually change your programming is very, very difficult. Now, I remember in my early 20s, I actually had the thought that I wanted to take a look at my upbringing, how I was raised. I was raised in a very religious family. Awesome parents, religious family, tight-knit community. I'm no longer religious. It's one of these things where I took a look at it. I took a look at me, who I am, and I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to challenge everything that I was taught and see if it really passes muster with me. Obviously, parents were disappointed, brothers and sisters disappointed. They got over it. But it was one of these things where it takes conscious action. So when I learned about the illusion of free will, I thought that is BS. That's BS. Everyone has free will. Everyone gets to choose. When I learned more and I started to understand, you don't really make choices. Your programs make the choices. And if you've never thought about your programming, then you've been a machine. You've been a computer running a program that was written by your personality and by your parents and by your community. Here is the empowering thing about this. You do have free will. You absolutely have free will, but it's not at the point of decision. It's changing your programming. So let's go through the process of changing your programming as a trader. Now, we just talked about, I shared with you why I got into the market. If I could start over, and I want you to think about this, if you could start over with this kind of programming, my main goal is to be consistent. My primary goal is to follow my plan without deviation. If I do that, I have success. If I don't do that, that's losing. Look, I could make a bad trade and make money, and that's still a loss. That still doesn't make me feel good. That's a failure. Go into it saying, hey, I want to be a successful trader. It wasn't about making money. It's about, hey, I need to develop my skills and my system and back test it and future test it, demo trade it, real-time trade it, make adjustments until it's successful. That's what a successful trader is. It's not someone who makes money and drives a Ferrari. It's someone who's put in the work to build the plan. And understanding along the way, there's going to be many, many pitfalls. Your subconscious is always trying to undermine you in trading. The market is really good at pushing you out and in at those panic places. If you're aware of them, if you are watching out for them, you're much less likely to fall into the pitfalls. So if that's one of your goals, hey, I don't want to make the same mistakes I made in the past. Like set up things to where you know that, hey, this is what I've done in the past and I'm not going to do it again. Willing to put in the work. Expertise is a combination of knowledge and experience. It takes the books and it takes experience. And it takes years. I tell people, anyone can make money right off the bat. But in my opinion, it takes somewhere between 3 to 7 years to really build all that you need to build for this to be a durable career in your life. That's just what it takes. And look, maybe there's some people that have done it faster, and maybe there's some people that it took 10 years. Everyone's got a different timeline. Be deliberate. Everything you do has consequences. Understand everything that happens is writing a new program in your brain. Now, if you aren't thinking, if you aren't conscious about that, it's just going to be written, and then the next time you're going to act different and be like, that was weird. Why did I act different? But if you're very conscious about it, okay, I just did this and this happened. This is going to try to convince me to deviate from my plan next time. So when I have these feelings of deviating, I'm going to remember this last experience. Remember, I'm more concerned about staying consistent than I am about making money. That's my primary goal. All of a sudden, you're much less likely to do that. And again, patience and never quit. And this was probably the reason I made it, was that I've been called a bulldog. I don't quit. I don't quit till I make it. And this was one of those things where I just wouldn't quit. So let's take this programming. Imagine you could have started out your trading career with that programming where you says, hey, it's all about consistency. It's all about building a plan. I'm going to take 6 months to build a plan and back test it and future test it. Not the 6 minutes it took for me to fund an account and make a trade. I'm going to take 6 months and really work on this until I get a really cohesive system. And then I'm going to go out and follow that system because I've back tested it. So you go out, you make a trade, the trade moves against you, but all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know what? I accounted for this. This is part of the system. Those feelings, you don't have those feelings. Those brain chemicals aren't sloshing around your body. You're much less likely to act in a way that is not conducive with your trading plan. And then at the end of it, you say, hey, you know what? I followed that plan, that trade all the way to fruition. I got a gain, I got a loss, whatever it is. And that was a successful trade. You did it. Well done. Pat yourself on the back. You did it. You followed it. What you've now created is a positive feedback loop to where all of a sudden you've now just rewritten and reinforced your programming. Hey, good job. You followed the rules. When you wanted to sell, you didn't sell, you held it, and it ended up being a winner. Hey, it reinforces your rules. And all of a sudden, you now have this positive feedback loop. And the more you get this feedback loop, the more likely you are to have positive programming. And then at the end, again, you've done it. You've done it so many times that you are simply a disciplined trader that follows the rules all the time. We can't all go back to our first trade we made and the first time we opened up a trading book or looked at a website. That sadly, that ship has already sailed. But from this point on, you can absolutely fix your programming. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes being self-aware. It takes knowing yourself and who you are. But you can fix it. If you want to change behavior, don't change the choice, change the programming. So I'm going to challenge every single person that's listening to this video. Go back and rework your goals. What are your goals in trading? What are you trying to accomplish? Take out everything about money. One of my favorite points is when a trader stops thinking about money and starts thinking of this as this intellectual puzzle. How can I crack this code? How can I figure this out? And all of a sudden, it's not even about money. It's about education and knowledge and self-awareness and all these other things. All of a sudden, the focus is off the money. The money causes all these issues. And the focus becomes on the process, not on the results. And then again, positive feedback. The more you do this, the easier and easier it is going to be until at one point, you no longer have to make a choice. Now remember, I don't believe you make a choice. I believe that's an illusion of choice. But at the point where like, okay, do I pull my stop order? Do I change my thing? At that point, the choice is going to be easier the more you've rewritten your programming to be positive. So that positive feedback loop is really, really important to keep writing those positive results, positive programs. And this is how I wanted to finish this video, is really talk about this positive feedback loop. Here are some things that you can do to help this out. Get a trading partner. If you've got a parent, a son or daughter, a neighbor, a friend, and if you have the internet, which I know you do, I've seen people that'll reach out online on certain trading forums and be like, hey, I need someone to be a trading partner with me. Who's willing? This will really help out. When you have somebody that you are working with and talking to, it really helps out. So I highly recommend getting a trading partner because that really comes with accountability. I remember when I was just trading and I was just trading with my own account, with my own money. And, I was the only person that knew what was going on. And sometimes I blew it. Sometimes I deviated. Once I started sharing my results with other traders and sharing my brokerage accounts and all that stuff, I stopped breaking rules. Why? Because I knew people were watching. I knew people were watching, and I knew that they would be like, oh, this guy's an idiot. And so this accountability was amazing. I used my wife a little bit in the beginning, where, she was supposed to ask me certain things like, hey, are you still doing this? Oh, yeah, I'm still doing that. I'm still doing that. Okay. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew that I asked her to, hey, will you check in on me every Wednesday to make sure that I'm not moving my stop orders? And again, it's just little things like that to create these positive feedback loops. And then rewards, create some metrics for yourself. And they should start out fairly small. Let's say your goal is for the next month. My goal is to not deviate from any of my trades ever. And if at the end of the month I do that, I get to go play a round of golf at my favorite golf course, whatever it is. Whatever it is. And so what you're doing is you're creating these incentives for you to be successful in the process, not the money. Never tie it to the money, but the process. Hey, I want to achieve a 65% win-loss ratio this month. That is my goal. And if I meet that goal, I get to go out to my favorite restaurant. Use those. These absolutely help. I am just scratching the surface. There's so much that humans have studied and gone through when it comes to changing your programming. I can only kind of point you the direction of where to go. From here, it's really up to you how far you go with this. But I'm telling you, until you get this programming correct, you're going to have some struggles. And the great thing is, once you get it correct, and this is the thing I say that I really have the most pride over. Of all the things in trading that I've overcome, this is the one that I have the most pride over. I no longer feel the compulsion to change my trading plan. I don't even have to fight that battle anymore. It's not even a choice. It's not a choice because it's not a battle. Because I've gone through it so many times that I've written the program. How nice is it to never, ever feel the compulsion and the stress of a position? That's the end goal, to get to that point. So just some key points to wrap this up. First off, admitting that we're wired to lose. And again, I used Alcoholics Anonymous and drug recovery as an example here. The first step is acceptance. That's always the first step to, hey, I've got a problem. Your first step in this whole process is, oh my gosh, I'm screwed. I'm screwed. The way I am right here, right now, I'm screwed. And I need to really work on my programming. And that's going to be my first thing I work on. All of a sudden, you've set yourself up for such better results than you or I when we started out, wanting to make money. We've eliminated a lot of those issues that take years to work through. I'm going to challenge you to turn trading into an intellectual pursuit instead of a monetary one. Have it be about your numbers. I want to have a positive win-loss and a positive profit factor by the end of the month, by the end of the quarter, by the end of the year. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. I don't care about the money. These are the metrics. How high can I get my risk reward ratio? I've done that before. Hey, I'm willing to suffer, a loss of 20% of win-loss if I can double my risk reward. I've actually attempted that before and said, oh, wow. And then I said, hey, there's some things that I want to keep and there's some things that I don't want to keep. All of a sudden, it's not even about money. It's about the intellectual pursuit of figuring this out. Hopefully this helped. Like I said, at this point, I just had to pass a baton to you, and it's going to be up to you to see how far you take this. But imagine if you could start out with this really nice clean slate of Your programming is correct. You're getting into this for the right reasons. You're willing to pay the price. All of a sudden, it's just a matter of time. At some point in the future, you're going to have everything you want. I don't know when that is. You don't know when that is. But as long as you keep going, you get it. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Goodbye.